I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some ditties. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and you guys know what day it is. It is Thursday, so we have two incredible shows today. We're going to start off with Kristine Jensen, and then we're going to have David Gural tonight at 7 p.m. But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Get over to all those platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Lemonade, Clapper, Blue Sky, all of those good platforms. If I haven't mentioned them, Miss Liz is on all of them. Jump over to the podcast apps, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Spotify, and all the other ones I haven't mentioned. Check those ones out as well. But I want you guys to always jump over to babyboomers.org because Miss Liz is partnered with them. And if you're looking for something different that Miss Liz doesn't offer, you can find 50 plus podcasts out there as well, and you can get featured on those podcasts as well. So check out babyboomers.org. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Kristine Jensen in here, and we're going to spill her tea. And her tea is resilient, confident, and blessed. That's the tea we'll be talking about, and we'll be talking about the Wednesday Club book as well. So get ready for an incredible afternoon. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at my email at bookymissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree, Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where stories remind us that friendship, community, and human connection often become the thread that holds us together through life's many seasons. Today's guest brings warmth, storytelling, history, and the quiet wisdom that can only come from listening to the lives and experiences of those who came before us. Please join me in welcoming Kristine Jensen, author, storyteller, and lifelong writer whose debut book, Wednesday's Club, was inspired by the handwritten minutes of her grandmother's real-life women's club, a group of women who met faithfully for more than 60 years. Raised on a farm in South Dakota and now living in Oregon, Kristine has spent her career crafting stories through screenplays, documentaries, scripts, and award-winning communications. Her work has earned multiple honors, including Telly Awards and recognition for international film festivals. Through Wednesday's Club, Kristine celebrates the inner lives of women, unlikely friendship, resilience, community, and the extraordinary strength found in ordinary people. 3 words that describe her life is resilient, confident, and blessed. Today's Tea Time will explore the inspirational behind Wednesday's Club, The power of women's friendship, small town stories with lasting impact, family legacy and preserving memories, and finding strength through community and connection. Christine reminds us that some of life's most meaningful stories aren't found in headlines. They're found around kitchen tables, community gatherings, and the relationships that quietly shape generations. So grab your cup and join us for a heartfelt conversation filled with friendship, wisdom, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. Let me get Christine in here and let's spill some tea. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Miss Liz, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It is a pleasure to have you here, Christine. So let's get to know you a little bit before we get into the book and your journey. Tell me a little bit on who Christine was as a little girl and who Christine is now.
So I was born in a small town. When my family was, when I was in the fourth grade, my family moved out to the country, which for me felt like kind of the end of the world. I didn't understand what it really meant to live in the country. All my friends were in town. The thought of riding a school bus and being stuck out on a farm was not fun. So I felt kind of like an outsider going to a strange land. But over time, I came to really love it. I got a horse. I met a best friend who lived on a farm nearby. And I began to really appreciate the values of rural life. And I think that kind of being an outsider and finding a way in to a different life is part of the theme of Wednesday Club, though that the protagonist's journey is completely different, being a city girl. I grew up the oldest of four kids. My parents had me when they were very young, which I think brought on a lot of challenges for them. I'm the only girl, so I imagine that my three younger brothers would describe me as bossy, still to this day, and a big know-it-all. But I think that maybe that's part of the role of an only and oldest daughter, taking care of younger brothers. And there's a pretty big age gap. My youngest brother is 12 years younger than me. So reason for my bossiness.
And who are you today, Christine?
Oh, wow. Who am I today? I think I'm someone who has been blessed by a lot of different experiences in my life. I moved from South Dakota to go to college in Oregon, graduated college in Oregon, moved to San Francisco, lived in California, and raised a son for a lot of years. And then about 15 years ago, reconnected with my college sweetheart and made a big, huge change in my life to give up my friends and life in California and move back to Oregon. So I think that I am resilient. I'm open to change. I'm open to trying new things. I think that I have been blessed with a lot of people in my life telling me that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And that is so important to hear from a young person on up, because it gives you the courage to try things and the resilience to move on when things don't work out. So I hope that I am a really grateful person. I hope that I am a kind and helpful person. And I hope that I believe that I continue to be a really curious person. I love to learn new things.
Curious. Yeah, and I like the way that you shared that, Christine, because you gave me kind of your tea in explaining who you are now as an older lady. As you grew up, the little girl, and then now who you are, You gave me the word resilient, you gave me the word bless, but the word confidence, where does the word confidence fit in your tea?
I think it comes from, as I mentioned, just sort of being told that I could do whatever I wanted to do. Being the oldest grandchild, my grandparents gave me a lot of responsibilities and trusted that I could do things for them. My grandfather in particular and my grandmother were real role models for me. We lived next door to them when I was growing up. And there's something very special about a grandchild grandparent relationship. I think they have an easier time of being with kids than parents do, as we've heard many times. And they instilled in me, I think, a belief that you can do these things, you can be successful. I'm grateful that I had a lot of successes in early life through 4-H projects and activities in high school that I was a part of. And I think that each of those small successes kind of builds on you as a kid. And not everything is going to be successful. You're not going to win at everything or have everything work out the way you want. I think having that foundation of successes gives you that strength and confidence, and then resilience to pick yourself up and move on when things don't work out.
And now I understand how strong your tea really is. And I love that you said instilled in me, because there's so much of our ancestries and our older elders that instill things into us that we don't understand until we get older ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the instillness is something that we don't speak about in today's world very much, is what we get. We have a comment here that I'd like to read out. And her confidence comes from winning awards for everything she does, including her first novel, Wednesday's Club, which we will be talking about. I'm going to pull up that novel. If you could just share a little bit about what's on the cover, Kristine, for my audio listeners.
Sure. So on the front cover, and I'll hold it up for you because I really love there it is. So what it says at the top is a remote farm, a city girl adrift, and a club that would change her life.
So tell us a little bit about this Wednesday's Club, Kristine.
Sure. So the story is a story of a 16-year-old girl whose mother drops her off to live with her grandparents. She's a city girl who has only met her grandparents a couple of times. Her mom is chasing Hollywood dreams and doesn't really want to be burdened with a teenager. So she dumps her on this small farm in South Dakota, where Ivy is mortified to be there and really believes that this is the beginning of the end of her life. As she knows it, she's horrified to be there. Over time, little by little over time, it's the members of her grandmother's Wednesday Club, a group of women who range in age from their 20s to their 60s, who begin to embrace Ivy and really help her find a sense of home. And she gets roped into the Wednesday Club because her grandmother says, we just need a short-term secretary to take minutes at this Wednesday Club. And Ivy kind of reluctantly agrees to take on that role. But in that role, then she is drawn into the lives of these other women. And the story is told from multiple points of view. So we see the character arcs of the different women in the Wednesday Club as well, and how they interact with one another and how they form a community and build on that community to be able to provide the love and sense of family that Ivy finally gets in the end.
Well, Kristine, we have a question here for you from David. It is, Kristine, did you always know your grandmother's story would become a novel?
I actually didn't. So when my grandmother passed away in 1996, we were going through her things and we found a box of all these old kind of notebooks and programs, and they looked like this, you know, some really just nondescript notebooks with these handwritten, you probably can't see it, but these handwritten minutes from the Wednesday Club, very formal minutes for a club that met once a month and that was run by strict parliamentary procedure. So I snagged the notebooks, brought them home, and thought, you know, maybe I'll publish these minutes because this is quite an interesting historical testimony to this club that existed for so long. And I carried the minutes around with me for a lot of years before I finally had a place in my life where I could get back to them. When I dug into the minutes, I discovered that about 20 years of the 65 years was missing. And not only that, but the minutes, although interesting, were really pretty dry. They just recorded kind of the basic facts. What was the roll call topic? What was the program? What was the dessert that was served, which was, you know, kind of interesting. Who was there? But I didn't think that they held together enough as a story to really be publishable. And the truth is, they weren't really, I didn't own them anyway. They weren't really mine to publish. But what it did do was to really spark this idea of, this is a really cool concept. These women who met once a month. And what if I brought life to minutes by creating a story around a few characters, and what would be an interesting conflict that would happen that would reveal what these Wednesday Club characters were like. So that's when I came up with the idea of the protagonist and the city girl, and who is dropped into the lives of these Wednesday Club members. I didn't know anything about writing a novel. I'd been a writer for a long time, but marketing copy, I'd written a few screenplays, but a novel, I didn't know how to do that. It seemed pretty daunting. But I started learning. That's where that love of learning comes in. And I just kind of threw myself into it. It took me a long time. I had a lot of beta readers. I queried agents, and finally felt that the novel was in a good place, and decided to self-publish. And that was a whole nother learning journey, how to self-publish. So that was a long answer to your question, Miss Liz.
No, that is good. Like, you know, sometimes the long answers are needed. We have a question here from Discovered Connecticut. Did your grandmother know how much her women's club would inspire future generations?
I really don't think that she did. And the book is dedicated to her because I think she would be both surprised and delighted to know how the story of this club has affected people. By the time I wrote the novel, there were no longer any living members of the Wednesday Club. But it was really interesting to me that they felt that their club was important enough that they kept these minutes, right? Like something must have said to them, what we're doing is really important. And in fact, after the book was published, I had a woman reach out to me out of the blue. She was 93, and she said, I think my mother was in that Wednesday club. I didn't know my mother very well. She passed away when I was just 3. And we formed a friendship and a correspondence. And it turned out that her mother was one of the founding members of the Wednesday Club.
Oh, wow.
And not only that, but I was able to help trace for her like what might have happened to her mother, because there were notes, there were in the minutes about her mom being sick and being hospitalized and providing flowers for her. And it was, I think, really, really helpful for this woman to know something more, a little more about her history. So that was a really cool way that the present could provide a little bit of healing to a woman from the minutes from the past. So that was one of the favorite things that's happened to me with readers reaching out.
I find that the older generations and our ancestors kept these notes, hoping that we would find our notes to bring to the future. It was almost like they're tell the story at the right time.
I think that's true, and I think that it's a universal story. I love the idea of intergenerational friendships, but more important than that, the theme of women's friendships, of the importance of community, the importance of women in particular meeting regularly, meeting face to face, forming bonds that help us to be happier and more supported in our lives. That theme has been really important to me, not just in the novel, but in my monthly blogs. I've been trying to connect women with ideas for how to connect. So I've been publishing stories in my newsletters of unique ways that women are connecting these days. And that's been really fun, because I think that the importance of community is even more important, or as important at least, as it was back then for these rural women who were pretty isolated in their lives.
Absolutely. We have a couple of comments here, and then we have a couple questions that I just want to get out to you. From Golf Tips, your journey from documentaries and screenplays to fiction is fascinating. We have another comment here from Jim. It's Wednesday's Club is a wonderful story with memorable, real characters. It is a great summer read and the kind of book the world needs right now. Love it. And then we have a question here. Let me see. From Bob. Kristine, what was the first memory that made you want to tell this story?
The first memory. I can remember my grandmother getting ready for her Wednesday clubs, even as a little girl. And it was always a kind of a big to-do, right? It was important that your house be in great shape, that you have the right food. And so I can remember that anticipation of my grandmother and knowing that this was a really big deal in her life, that beyond just wanting to make sure everything was perfect, it was just something that she looked forward to, that they all looked forward to, and they made it a big, important part of their lives. They also would have some family events where they would bring together the husbands and the kids so that they could have social time together as well.
We have another question here for you, Kristine, and it's from, this is a comment from Thrive Show. I'm already learning how important community and simply showing up for one another can be. The next question is from Thrive Show. Was there a particular character in Wednesday's Club that was especially emotional to write?
The character of Cora is probably, who is the grandmother in the novel, is probably the closest to my grandmother. And so it was emotional to write about her, and to remember how important she was in my life. I can remember a couple of times when things were really hard at home, and I could run next door and find my grandmother out there in her flower garden, and just know that that was a beautiful place to be, and that there was always a sense of peace and love that I could find at my grandmother's. My grandmother taught me also not only my love of gardening, but she taught me how to bake and how to sew. And those are things that brought us together. And those were, traditions that she passed on to me.
We're going to talk about traditions in just a second, but I want to get these two questions out to you. The next one's from Golf Tip. Did each experience shape the way you tell stories today, Kristine?
I think that each experience of my writing journey has definitely shaped how I tell stories. My experience writing screenplays, particularly with a screenwriting partner, was so much fun and gave me not only more confidence in my writing, but also a sense of telling stories visually, I think. Wednesday Club is written in different points of view and in short chapters, almost like vignettes, if you will, like scenes from a movie. And so I definitely think that my screenwriting background influenced that. I think the other thing is that as a copywriter, as a marketing writer, working for big high-tech companies, your writing is reviewed by lots of people. And so it's important that you are able, that it was important for me that I learned to take criticism, get comments, the importance of kind of multiple drafts. And I think it was really helpful to me then when I was writing drafts of Wednesday Club to get feedback from beta writers. I can't tell you how important that was. And really to also to be able to listen to that feedback and make changes where I thought that the comments were really important and really valid. Especially as a first-time novel writer, you have so much to learn, and appreciating the time that beta readers will put into something is just, I'm incredibly grateful for that. The other thing I think as a marketing writer, I learned that it's not just about writing a novel, because you can write a beautiful novel, but if people don't know about it, it's never gonna get read. And particularly when you self-publish, you have to embrace the marketing side of that. I'm really grateful that I have a dear friend, Jim McBride, who was willing to help me plan the marketing for the book. That was really invaluable. But I think that my marketing background has also helped me to lose the fear of putting my words out there and just try to focus on the fact that I think this is a story that people can resonate with, and I want to put it out there.
Writing a book, I think that that's the easy part. The marketing and getting that book out there and understanding that there's going to be a reader that has a different point of view than yourself when you're writing it is scary. I know when I released my tea books, I was scared because I wanted to do so different. And I was just like, is the world ready for this kind of different? Is that how you kind of felt when you put this book out?
I was terrified when I was getting ready to hit that publish button on KDP. It feels, as you mentioned, it feels very vulnerable, and all your little demons come out to say, you don't really know what you're doing, and it's not really that great. And what makes you think that you should publish a novel? And what if everybody hates it? And once you publish it, you can't really take it back. So yeah, it's completely terrifying. I think it isn't until you start to get some feedback from readers, and in a way take your own ego out of the equation in a way, and say it isn't me, it isn't about me personally, it's about the story, it's about the characters, and is there parts of that story that speak to people, that resonate? Are there memories that come up for them? Does it warm their heart? Does it make them remember things of their past? Or does it help them to understand why loneliness can be so painful, or why it can be so painful to feel like you don't belong? And so I think that's when you can let go of you as the story, and release it as a story, and let the story and the characters speak to people, if it
Absolutely.
does.
I'm so glad that you shared that and that you felt the same way, because I was like, what are you doing? Like the inner demon came out, like self-doubt, don't push that button. And then once the button is pushed, it's like, oh no, there's no turning back now. It's there.
Totally.
For anybody that's published a book, and my listeners, if you've ever had that feeling, it's normal. It's because the inner self always self doubts the growth of within. My Oma always told me, don't listen to the inner voice when it's time to grow, because it will hold you back. The roots will pull you. And I'd be like, oh, okay. She said, just move, let the water flow and let it go. She taught me a lot of wisdom stuff growing up. Did your grandma teach you these traditions and inner lessons within yourself, that the self-doubt as a little girl, you got it, you can do this, you know you can jump that bridge, you can get over that fall? Did she give you any of these wise little wisdom tips?
I think that my grandmother did, and also my grandfather did. My grandfather was a successful farmer who ended up starting his own business, a seed corn company, and I I saw him as a role model, and because he had so much confidence in me, expressed so much confidence in me, I think that really helped a lot. I don't remember like specific words of wisdom that either one of them passed on to me, but just a sense that whatever I did, they were going to be okay with. I remember even when I had moved to San Francisco, and I was, living in a situation where I knew they probably weren't that comfortable with, but they came to visit me, and they never said a word about the fact that I was living with somebody who I wasn't married to, and that wasn't really something they probably liked or appreciated, and maybe my lifestyle wasn't what they had hoped for me that it would be. But there was still this unconditional love and unconditional belief that they trusted me, and they trusted what I was doing in my life and the decisions that I was making. And my parents as well have been like that all my life. So my parents and my grandparents. And I certainly hope that I can pass that on to my son, because it's just really critical.
Absolutely. You know, the unconditional love is something that we need to pass along to the next generation. And we have a question here from Sean. It is, what does friendship mean to you personally after writing this book?
I can't underestimate the value of friendship in my life. I made a big change when I moved back to Oregon in 2011. And as I had mentioned, I was reconnecting with a college sweetheart, and completely giving up the life and friendships that I had had in California for over 30 years. So it was a big, big change. And when I moved here, of course, I had my sweetheart who would eventually become my husband, but I really had no other friends here. It was very different than when I had gone to college here. And oh boy, did I miss friends. And I was pretty, even though, I had my sweetheart, it wasn't enough. I discovered that it just really wasn't enough. I needed friends in my life. And it took me a while, and I found that I had to really put myself out there a lot more than usual to build up friends. I was in my 50s, and it's harder to make friends when you're in your 50s. I remember meeting a woman walking her dog as I was walking my dog, and just kind of latching on to somebody to talk to, and then asking her to go to coffee. I found out she was a writer. And so we met for coffee, and I sort of am amazed that I didn't like scare her off with my over eagerness to have a friend, especially at the end of the coffee when I said, do you think we could meet like once a week to have coffee? And she was kind of like, well, maybe. I don't know. I had to apologize later because I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like so desperate to have a friend that, but luckily she agreed. And that was the first of some really lovely friendships I've been able to have. And when you move to a new place, you don't end your friendships with your old friends either. It's just harder that they aren't there with you. Yeah. But in the end, you keep the old friends who are important to you, and then you build on that with new friends, and it's a beautiful thing.
And that's something we don't really say, right? Is we have our sweethearts, but we still need a friend. We still need somebody to talk to, right? Because the sweetheart doesn't understand that woman side of us, right? So we need that female friend. We have a question here from Jim, and it is, what was writing a novel different from writing a screenplay for you?
A screenplay is so prescribed in its format, and particularly its length. Like, it should be 120 pages or less. It's really all about the action and the dialogue, and you're not able to get into, I think, a character's emotional life as much. So it was fun for me to build on that and say, you know what, I have more liberty with a novel. I can introduce some of the backstory. I can get into the character's head more. I can describe in way more detail what the scene looks like, how are the characters reacting to each other? All the things that directors, when you write a screenplay, don't want you doing, because that's their area. But when you write a novel, you get to be the writer and the director all at once. It also was a lot more, it's just so much more work, right? To get to 80,000 words or 110,000 words, like, that's a slog, particularly when you're writing multiple drafts, and you're going in there, and just the sheer scope of something that long is it's pretty daunting, and keeping track of all of it. And I have learned that for a first time novel, I bit off a really hard format with multiple points of view. And in fact, I had a few people along the way say, you really shouldn't do this. Like this is not a good idea. But I was kind of stubborn and determined, because I felt that a Wednesday club, that if you didn't get to know the points of view of different club members, well, then it wasn't really a story about a club per se. It was just a story about one person. And so understanding then the character arcs of the multiple characters, that was harder and more challenging. But it was also, it gave me more freedom to write more, to describe more. So thank you for that question.
Well, we have a question here from Nick, and it is, did Writing Wednesdays Club teach you anything new about friendship and community?
I think it taught me that friendship and community doesn't need to be always about people your own age. Sometimes I think that, we feel that we should be friends with people who are about our own age, or maybe as a woman, you should just be friends with other women. I think that writing the novel helped me to expand my personal idea of friendship and the importance of intergenerational friendships. It also taught me that friendships can change over time, and that sometimes people we think who are important in our life, we realize on reflection that those friendships change, and some friendships become more important than other friendships. And I think it taught me that we all need a community to belong to, that friends can lift each other up through the hardest times. I think it taught me more about what it means for me to be a good friend to people, and how to support people in friendship. And also I learned, as Ivy was learning in the novel, I was also learning personally how to build a community in a new town, and what that meant, and how to figure out how to create a whole new life and a community where I felt like I belonged.
Well, we have a comment here from Rochelle, and it's a beautiful how one family's experience can resonate with so many people. And that's what I mean. It's such a small world, right? We all connect. Antonio has a question here. Kristine, do readers ever share stories about their own communities after reading your book?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And that's been one of the really fun things about writing this book, is getting comments from readers. Some of them are people who grew up in South Dakota, and they write to me about how it has sparked memories. I've had a lot of comments from readers about their memories of their grandmother and how important that was in their life. I've had comments from readers about how their mothers were part of different women's social groups, from extensions to church clubs. It turns out that my grandmother's Wednesday Club was just one of many kinds of social clubs that existed, especially for rural women. Some of those kinds of clubs still do exist, and people write to tell me about them, but also readers tell me about the new ways that they are forming communities. So whether it's young women today who are going back to the idea of knitting and being together in these knitting circles, which seems like a very old-fashioned idea, but young women are embracing this idea. There are women's groups who are becoming politically active and working together for issues that they feel are important. There are groups that are exercising together or running together. There's just so many myriad of ways that these communities are forming, and I just love hearing about them. And readers seem to enjoy writing to tell me about them, and it's really heartwarming for me.
Have you heard of the club Red Hat ladies?
Yes, yes,
And the Pink ladies?
yes.
And then there's the High Tea Society Club. Have you heard of all of those?
Don't know the High Tea Society Club, but it sounds like it'd be right up your alley. What is it about?
Well, the High Tea Society is they get together for political conversation as well, but they have afternoon tea, and they talk about relationships and kind of something like the Wednesdays Club. So I guess in different communities, different countries, and that as well, we have different clubs, right? Do you feel that the clubs are coming back into today's world? Like you mentioned, the younger generations doing the knitting clubs and sewing clubs. Do you feel that that's going to come back?
I believe that they are, and I believe that it's really important that they do. I think there's several reasons for that. I think that while the internet has caused people to be able to connect online all over the world and the benefits of that, I think that people still feel that they need that face-to-face, heart-to-heart connection. I also think that as the world, our country is more divided in some ways than before, or at least we feel that we are. People coming together in community can help people to connect and realize their similarities and find ways to come together, even if they are across different political divide. It's just really critical for us to be able to connect with one another. I think also that as young people have move away and we don't have these intergenerational families who stay in the same place, we have to find new ways to build community and in a way to create new families, if you will, families of friends and families of communities. They help us to raise our kids together. They help us when we're older Americans and or people from around the world, and we need help supporting each other and providing friendship for one another. So yeah, they're really critical, and I think even more critical than ever.
In the book Wednesdays Club, do you share some of your grandma's recipes?
I do talk I do in the minutes talk about the kinds of food that they served. I have also been using as a bookmark my grandmother's favorite chocolate cake recipe. So if people want to join my mailing list at wednesday-club.com and reach out, I'll be happy to send them my grandmother's favorite chocolate cake recipe.
Did your grandma add mayonnaise to her chocolate cake?
No, buttermilk. Buttermilk was her ingredient that makes the cake so rich and gooey and moist. Mayonnaise. I think I have heard of that before, though.
Yeah, my grandma put mayonnaise in her chocolate cake, and I always like when she first told me, I was like, "Ooh," and she's like, "Well, how do you think we got the moistness in our cakes?" I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah, it does make sense. It does.
We have a question here from Thrive Show. If you could have tea with your grandmother today, would you?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Yes, I would, of course, definitely love to have tea with my grandmother. And I would, of course, love the opportunity of putting the Book Wednesday Club in front of her and saying, look what I did, Grandma. And boy, do I hope that I make you proud with this book.
You know, Kristine, you could still do that. You could take a picture of grandma, put 2 cups of tea, some cookies and treats out, and talk to your grandma. I do that all the time with my grandma because she's no longer here to have tea with, right? And we have these conversations, and I can feel her presence and know that she's proud of how far I've come. And I think if you did that with your grandma, I think your grandma would say, you know what, I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Thank you for getting my story out there. Um, we have a question here from the Thrive Show. What would you want to tell her about the impact of this book?
I would want to tell her that her little club of rural farm women has been brought to life and has reached a lot of readers around the globe. I think she would be like so surprised about that. I don't think that that's something that she would have guessed. And I don't know if she would have ever seen me as a writer. I don't know. I guess she probably would have thought, yeah, well, she can do it if she puts her mind to it. But her little club has become kind of famous. On my website, I share a story of the Real Wednesday Club. There's some photos up there of her. And I think she would be surprised and maybe a little humbled to know that that their club has really touched people.
Well, we have a question here from Jim. Will there be a sequel? We want more of these characters.
Thank you. Yes, there will be a sequel. I am currently working on it. I'm pretty early on in the process. I know that the sequel will be set in 1968 and 69. When the Vietnam War is raging, Ivy is almost ready to graduate college. And so it'll be fun to see where she is in her life and her maturity. And it'll be fun to see where the characters have evolved to over 4 years later. One of the important ideas in the first book is that the women through their Wednesday Club meetings are exploring current events, and every month they're at their meeting, the program explores something that's happening in their world because they were trying to educate themselves about what was happening out there. So I think that the idea of the Wednesday Club members exploring and reacting to what is happening during the tumultuous time of America in 68 and 69 will be really fascinating for readers. And it's going to be really fun to write.
So, Kristine, could you tell us a little bit about the characters before we wrap up?
Sure. I just love these characters. And so I'm so happy to write about them again. So, of course, there's Ivy, the protagonist. There are her grandparents. There is a woman named Florence who has moved from Texas and sort of believes that she's a little bit better than everyone else. There is a lovable character named Hattie who is hiding a very painful secret from her past. There's the youngest member of the Wednesday Club, Tilly, who is an artist, but she's kind of struggling in a life with 3 very young kids. And then there's these sisters. There's Batilda, who is kind of a crotchety older sister who feels that all all there is to do really in life is to work. And then her sister, Itola, who is sort of goofy and tries all these new things and is really desperate to find a husband. So she has all these exploits in trying to find a husband, and the interaction of those sisters. And then there's a character at the end who kind of makes a surprise appearance. Who we don't expect. And I won't give it away now, but somebody who is important in Ivy's life, and she doesn't really even know about this person until later on in the book.
So, Kristine, if you could give my listeners a final message today on the Wednesdays Club, on your journey, and on your life as well, what would that final message be? I really appreciate being able to bring this story of community and resilience to readers. I hope that readers find messages of hope, and also being able to overcome challenges. I hope they find something in the story that speaks to them. I'm really honored to share this story. And I encourage readers to look into their own past and look at stories from their families that might speak to them. And if they have any inclination of writing a novel or a story based on their family, I would say, go for it. It will bring you so much joy to bring these memories and lessons to life. And I would just say, thank you to the readers who have discovered Wednesday Club. It's really been an honor to share this story with them. And Kristine, do you feel that Wednesdays Club will become a movie one day?
I think it would be a fantastic movie. I really do. I think that the characters are so lovable. I think that a movie set in rural South Dakota, well, that's just something we really haven't seen that much of, but I think that it could really resonate with people. It's part of that flyover part of the country that we don't get to see too much of. I think I kind of liken the story a bit to the movie Terms of Endearment. And there are some sort of similarities there. And I've had a lot of people suggest that it would be a great movie.
I think it's just what we need to see. Well, Kristine, I want to thank you for joining me on Tea Time. I want to thank the viewers and the comments and supporters that have come in today. I'm just going to do a quick wrap up of what Tea Time was about today, and then we'll be back at 7 p.m. with the next Tea Time. What a beautiful and heartwarming conversation today. Kristine, thank you for bringing your storytelling, warmth, and wisdom to the Tea Time table. Your journey reminds us that the most powerful stories are often rooted in real people, real friendships, and real moments that might otherwise be forgotten. Today, we explore community, friendship, legacy, resilience, and the importance of preserving the stories that connect generations. One of the strongest takeaways from today is this: the relationship we build throughout our lives often becomes the characters that matter most. Through Wednesday's Club, you have honored not only your grandmother's legacy, but also the countless women whose friendship, support, laughter, and strength help shape their communities and families. You reminded us that connection is powerful, and that sometimes simply showing up and consistently for one another can create an impact that lasts for generations. As we close today's Tea Time, I leave everyone with this thought: who are the people in your own Wednesdays Club? Who are the friends, mentors, family members, and supporters who have stood beside you through life's celebrations and challenges? Because a life well lived is rarely measured by accomplishments alone. It is measured by the people whose lives we touch along the way. Thank you, Kristine, for sharing your story, your heart, and your beautiful tribute to friendship and community. Until next time, keep building meaningful conversations, keep sharing stories that matter, and keep sharing real life tea, one conversation at a time. And I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. with the next Tea Time. Thank you again, Kristine, for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.